Ah, yes, now I see. Ah, now I see, yes, it's becoming clear. Yes, yes. Now I see, it's becoming very clear. Well, the future is looking bright. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. You know, you don't have to be a fortune teller to be able to plan ahead. Some of the best ways to predict the future is to take a look at the past. Today, we're going to show you how to start planning for what's coming up next. A chicken? Really? Yes, chickens are cute, and I think we would all agree that the eggs are quite delicious. And they're not so bad with a little garlic and rosemary either. Here at the Heritage Poultry Conservancy at Moss Mountain Farm, there's a greater call to action happening. You see, what we're trying to do is help save these birds from extinction by putting them back to work. We're not the only ones dedicated to the preservation of heritage farm animals. In fact, in the smallest state in the country, Rhode Island, there's a farm where they're making big waves toward preserving some of these important animals. Carved out of the hilly landscape of Newport, Rhode Island, is a historic farm that very few people have seen. And the dwellers of this property play an important role in the preservation of heritage livestock.
So SVF Foundation, or Swiss Village Farm Foundation, was developed in the early 1900s as a working farm. Arthur Curtis James and his wife developed this property to house his prize-winning herd of Guernsey cattle. And it was a working farm until the 1940s. It changed hands several times, and it was purchased in 1998 by Mrs. Dorrance Hamilton, who is a philanthropist, and she's done a lot here in Newport. She wanted to preserve the property, and she collaborated with Tufts University to set up this nonprofit foundation which preserves endangered breeds of livestock.
It happened at that time. There was the mad cow disease was going on in England, and so many animals had to be destroyed. It made me wonder how on earth, if everything was killed off, how you'd ever breed back these wonderful breeds.
We're losing breeds at a very alarming rate right now. The industrialization of agriculture has been going on for about 20 years, and it's been consolidating all of our livestock to produce more and more at lower production costs. And what that's meant is the consolidation of all the breeds into one location, so it's cheaper to produce a lot of food, but it means we're relying on only one breed per species, and all the other breeds are becoming lost because they don't fit into that economic system.
In collaboration with Tufts University's Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine, the SVF Foundation brings livestock from all over the country. Veterinarians come on site and work with livestock and laboratory teams to collect genetic samples from the animals which are cryopreserved. The hope is that by saving this genetic material, if needed, they'd be able to bring that breed out of extinction. For birds, however, it's just not that simple.
Well, one of the things, you know, with our preservation program with animals, we've had a great success cryopreserving almost 80,000 samples to date, but we really haven't figured out how to get those giant chicken eggs into those tiny little straws you saw.
Since cryogenics really isn't an option for poultry, any avian species such as chickens, ducks, turkeys, and geese, awareness is really critical. Like the Swiss Village Farm Foundation, the Heritage Poultry Conservancy here at Moss Mountain Farm is dedicated to finding some of these rare breeds from across the world and breeding them to the standard of the American Poultry Association's standard of perfection. We work hand in hand with scientists from the University of Arkansas, poultry experts from around the globe, as well as American Poultry Association certified poultry judges.
How big is it supposed to be? Type, shape, dimensions. The back's supposed to be long or short. The tail angle is supposed to be an open tail or closed tail. How the wing carriage is, and things like that. Over the last 10, 15, 20 years or more, we've seen a pretty dramatic decline in those people that are raising them. We're seeing fewer and fewer of them shown at shows. We don't know that at some point in the future, hopefully this doesn't happen, that we get to a point, hey, we've got to go back and get some new genetic diversity. We have to go back to our roots and recreate some. If we don't have our roots, we can't do it.
As part of our outreach program, we hold poultry workshops dedicated to educating enthusiasts and empowering them with the knowledge and skills to maintain these heritage breed populations. But I have to say, one of my biggest pleasures is reintroducing these breeds into the population through the eager hands of future generations. This girl knows how to handle a turkey.
So one of the best things we can do as farmers, as consumers, is really to preserve poultry on the wing, where you're not able to freeze them cryogenically and reawaken a species if it was to go extinct. We really need to keep them going, and we really need to give them a job. You know, a lot of the reasons the animals here are in danger of going extinct is because they don't have a job, the way agriculture has progressed.
And we've learned from history, like for example, the potato famine in the 1840s, that when you rely on a single source of nutrition, when something happens and a disease or a blight hits that one source of food, you can be in real trouble. And so it's made a lot of economic sense to consolidate all of our agriculture into a certain number of breeds, but the diversity that we're trying to protect here at SVF Foundation is what's going to carry us into the future.
There are about 5,300 tracked breeds of livestock worldwide, with about 20% of them endangered of becoming extinct. The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations reckons that about one breed per month is being lost. So let's put these animals to good use. Let's put them back to work again. So how can you help? Well, you can support conservation organizations. You can buy local. You can support a local farmer who's raising heritage breeds. And you can even be a little adventurous. You can keep some of these breeds for yourself. So do your part in securing greater diversity, and let's save these heritage breeds together. What do you think, little guys? Coming up, how to ensure a bright future for your garden. You know what it feels like to get rid of clutter out of your house. For me, it gives me, well, a view into the future, sort of clears my head. The same occurs with pruning. By pruning some of your shrubs and plants, well, it invigorates them, it tidies them up, makes them more productive. So why don't we take a look at a few principles that'll help you in your garden. Now, the first principle with pruning is to follow the 3 Ds. Cut out diseased, dead, or damaged branches. So you want to make sure you do that. All right, so you want to make that plant bloom more. You want it thicker and fuller. Think about this terminal bud. And what I want to say about this, here we are in late winter and early spring, and you can see that bud already beginning to form. If you clip it there, what happens is it sends energy to these side buds, which will cause more limbs to grow this way. And if it's a flowering shrub, you're going to increase the number of flowers you're producing. You're also going to thicken the shrub. Now, this plant is one called burning bush, fireball. I love it. It's not really grown so much for its tiny little flowers, but it's grown for the extraordinary color that you get with its foliage in the fall. Now, another rule of thumb that you should always remember, if a plant blooms on old wood produced from last year, you want to wait until after it flowers before you prune it. A great example is our beloved old-fashioned forsythia. If you wait until those yellow flowers completely fade, that's when you want to prune it. The same holds with azaleas. Wait until your azaleas finish flowering, and as soon as they're finished, cut them back, and then they'll produce buds for next year. The thing you don't want to do is to prune them before they flower, because you're going to cut off all those gorgeous flowers, and that's the whole reason you're growing these things. So do a little spring cleaning with your shrubs. They'll reward you by producing lots of beautiful flowers in the season to come. Isn't that right? A little haircut doesn't hurt. Feels good, doesn't it? There you go.
This is by far the smallest house in the neighborhood. Bigger is not better, especially if you're the one who's cleaning it or paying the energy bills.
If you want to live small but are worried about entertaining guests, well, don't sweat it. Coming up, we'll take you inside the cutest little house you've ever seen. You won't believe how efficient it is. You know, the average square foot home in America is about 2,400 square feet. For some people, that's way too big. Check out this spectacularly small mini house. Oh, Angel, easy girl, easy.
My name is Lindsay, and I live in 600 square feet, 700 if you count the loft, along with my husband and my Labrador Retriever. Bigger is not better, especially if you're the one who's cleaning it or paying the energy bills. This house is located in Hillcrest, which is a historic neighborhood in Little Rock. This is by far the smallest house in the neighborhood. In fact, when getting it appraised, it was virtually worth nothing because it's not like any of the other houses. But we tried to keep the design very similar so that it fit in, and I think it looks like the other houses. It's just about a third of the size. One of my favorite things about building this house was to get to use not just salvaged materials, but really unique things. You walk up to the front door and you can see it's a vintage door from around 1900 with the original glass. The entryway, or the foyer as we joke, we wallpapered the ceiling to add a little bit of punch to the room, and then also on the wall we put reclaimed beadboard that was a gift to me from my stepfather. In the front room, right off of the foyer, is sort of the sunroom. You walk in, it's really bright and sunny, and you can kind of watch the cars go by since my house is situated on a really busy intersection. That room's also my laundry room, and I have a stacked full-size washer dryer. You come into the living area and you'll see the fireplace, the television, which we spent a lot of time figuring out where to put these things. We have a settee, which is our version of a sofa, and then you look into the dining room. I have a bench seat where we built in storage, put baskets where we store our extra kitchen items. Above that is a piece of stained glass that we've salvaged here in Arkansas. The table is on wheels so that when we have company or we're entertaining, we can move the furniture around to make more space. All custom cabinetry, and also the appliances, if you look, are just a little bit smaller than a traditional kitchen. One of my friends works downtown and he saw a building being gutted and they were throwing pieces of slate into the garbage. And he said, wait, I want those, do y'all mind? And no, they helped him load them up. And so my countertops were free. I just had to pay to have them cut to size. We don't have a tub, but that's not because we couldn't fit one, it's because I hate baths. So plenty of storage in there, place for all of our toiletry items. There's also a corner sink, which is kind of different. We found that salvaged and it still had the original hardware. Head into the next room, and that's the master bedroom. We had it extended just a little bit from the original plan so that we could fit a queen-size bed along with 2 nightstands. We used a bed that had storage underneath, since obviously storage is a big priority. In the closet, it's completely customized. We did spend extra to have all the storage put in, but you have to think of it in terms of real estate. So that's about 3 feet wide, 8 feet long. We have a vanity, we have drawers, we have shelves, we have shoe shelves, we have all of the storage for our hanging clothes. And we also have a loft space. We use a ladder, a library ladder, which is also used for another storage area.
But in our loft, we have a short ship's mate bed that sits low on the ground. There's also a desk up there that has our computer, which Tom's in school now, so he uses that to study, and also blog. So it's just a fun place to be able to look out. There's a window and a skylight, and you can see the traffic pass and watch the chickens in the backyard.
Who doesn't love containers full of beautiful flowers? I certainly do. I have them around my garden, but I also keep them up here on my porch. I love having all that beauty as close to me as possible. I also like to change out my containers each season. You know, give them a little pop. For instance, in the spring, I always reach for Nemesia Opal Innocence. What gorgeous color. As well as Snow Princess Lobularia. Remember, it's not your ordinary sweet alyssum. For summer, nothing packs the punch more than Supertunias, like this one, Supertunia Vista Bubblegum Pink. And when you contrast all of this flower power with the chartreuse leaves of Sweet Potato Sweet Caroline, you've got a killer combination that can really take the heat of summer. And what about the fall? Take a look at this verbena. It's called Superbena Royale Chambray. Vigorous and mounding, this plant is spectacular and functions well both as a filler and a spiller. You see, no matter the season, there's always something I can do to add that little extra punch to my containers, which makes my living environment even more beautiful. And when I get my hands in the soil, I feel like I'm connecting with nature, and I have one of those marvelous Zen moments. Give it a try. I think you'll be glad you did. Want to learn more? Visit pallansmith.com for delicious recipes, garden tips, blog posts, and our online store. Stop by and stay a while. We'll be back right after the break. Are you interested in seeing the future a little more clearly? Well, I know I am. While technology may not allow us to see the future, it certainly can come in handy and make certain aspects of life a little more convenient. Oh, well, maybe I do need to go water those little Roma tomatoes that I just planted. That's all the time we have for today's show. We'll catch you next time. I'm Alan Smith. Ah, yes, now I see. Ah, now I see. Yes, it's becoming clear. Yes, yes. A chicken? Really? I think this thing is murky. Pink lemons? It's my side job. Do palm reading, do the cards, and do the Vanna White.